Welcome to the I Lead podcast. This episode is for any educator who is striving to remember their why. It's titled, Every Student is Salvageable. From my earliest days as a kindergartner at Beasley Elementary in Mesquite, Texas, it was clear my path through school would be anything but typical. I wasn't the child who sat still with hands folded. I wasn't quiet, nor was I compliant. I was curious, restless, and always pushing the limits of the box. Miss Johnson's behavior management system, a beehive with bumblebees, labeled with each student's name, made that clear. My bee came out of the hive early and often, signaling my first of many trips to the principal's office, and that was the pattern. Over the next 9 years, despite being a consistent A and B student, I spent more time in the hallway, on the steps, in the principal's office, or in ISS than I did in my classrooms. Those experiences even extending to juvenile detention. They shaped me in ways I couldn't see then. They taught me the lesson I carry into every campus and every conversation with educators today. See, education isn't about compliance. It's about understanding. Students don't need us to demand silence or perfection. They need us to discern, to adapt, and to remember that behavior is always communication. By the time I was a freshman in high school, the weight of it all caught up with me. At 14 years old, I dropped out and began leaving home. I returned home permanently 4 years later, pregnant, with major gaps in my education. There was an underlying expectation from many that I would fail. But my son became my reason to fight forward. With the support of my parents, I completed my high school diploma through an alternative pathway. Empowered by his birth and anchored by my family and to my faith, I turned what could have been a dead end into a doorway. I went on to earn both my undergraduate and graduate degrees. Those years propelled me into a 28-year-long career in education. I became a child care center director, then a teacher in Title I schools in the middle of Dallas, Texas. Then an administrator, a district leader, and a consultant. I have built systems from the ground up. I have coached people to success. And I have had the opportunity to sit at tables with some of the most influential education leaders across the nation. But I've never forgotten what it felt like to be the kid in the hallway, the one that most people thought couldn't be salvaged. In 2015, as a teacher, a student walked into my classroom who reminded me exactly why what I'm sharing matters. He had just arrived in Texas from the Northeast. He was caught in the middle of a custody battle, carrying the upheaval of everything he once knew. One morning, I watched as he used my tape dispenser from my desk to repair his broken shoe. You see his shoe? It was talking. His wide smile showed me that there was pride in fixing it. That small act revealed his resourcefulness and also his resilience, even in the middle of instability. He often wore an oversized red hoodie and worn-out pants. Many days he brought me flowers. On my birthday, he handed me a bouquet of wildflowers, roots still dangling from the dirt. They weren't polished, but they were real, just like him. Then one November morning, he walked in with his head down. A black beanie was pulled low over his roughly shaved head. It was clear he had been mistreated. Typical policy would require that he remove his beanie as well as his hoodie from his head, but I requested to let him keep it on. And that day wasn't about compliance. It was about comfort and compassion. See, he reminded me that sometimes the most important thing we can give a student is not correction, but consideration, understanding, and compassion. Stories like his and stories like mine are proof that every student is salvageable. We don't always know what battles students are fighting before they get to school. We don't always see the hunger, the bruises, the chaos at home, or the voices in their head telling them that they're not going to make it. What we do see is the behavior, and far too often we react to the behavior instead of seeking the story underneath it. When I refused to make the student take off that beanie and hoodie, it wasn't about breaking a rule. It was about breaking a cycle. It was about telling him, you're safe here, that you matter, and you don't have to earn compassion. See, that's the work of educators. Let me remind you of this. Compliance will never change a child's life, but compassion will. Content can open doors, but connection will keep them open. Every hallway kid, every frequent flyer to the principal's office, every child whose bee comes out of the hive is still salvageable. My journey from struggling student to a district and campus leader proves it. That student with the wildflowers and the beanie and hoodie proves it. Your students prove it every single day. So the challenge is this: will you look beyond the behavior? Will you look beyond the hoodie? Will you see the child before you enforce the policy? Because when you do, you then become more than an educator. You become a lifeline. This is the kind of educator I consistently try to be. And this is the kind of educator all students deserve. I'm Misti Green. Thank you for joining.